There is an NBA team that's worthy of your attention. And before I tell you who that NBA team is, I'm going to tell you guys to hit that subscribe button. Like, comment, and share, and tell a friend, tell a family member, tell whoever to support my channel. And as I stated in the intro, there is an NBA team that deserves your attention. A team that is red hot, flying high. They're on a roll, and they absolutely deserve your attention. And that basketball team that I'm referring to are the Charlotte Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets, winners of 15 out of their last 21 games. Their record is 26-29. Yep, I know they're still under 500. They have a losing record. I got it. But they are as hot and rolling as any team in the NBA right now. The Charlotte Hornets. Better beware, ladies and gentlemen, because these Charlotte Hornets are coming. And they're making a statement each and every night in the National Basketball Association, these Charlotte Hornets. As I stated, the Charlotte Hornets are winners of 15 out of the last 21 games. And over that stretch, they are second in the NBA in offensive efficiency. And they are third in the NBA in defensive efficiency. And they are second in the NBA behind the Detroit Pistons in overall net rating over their last 21 games. These Detroit Pistons, these Charlotte Hornets, they are rolling, ladies and gentlemen. And if you look at the teams that they've beaten over these last 21 games, we're talking about them beating teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder. They blew them out earlier in January. They blew out the Oklahoma City Thunder. They've beaten the Los Angeles Lakers. They've beaten the Denver Nuggets. They've beaten the Philadelphia 76ers. They've beaten the Houston Rockets. And they've also beaten the San Antonio Spurs. That's right. These Charlotte Hornets have defeated all of those teams within a span of over a month. These Charlotte Hornets are rolling. And the key players that I want to talk about for this basketball team, referring to the Charlotte Hornets, I want to give some love to Knickel. I brought up his name up a bunch on a few episodes, but Knickel is special. I've never seen a shooter like this, this young of a shooter, and I don't know when. Like Steph Curry was obviously, we all know who Steph Curry is, but if we're going to be honest about Steph Curry, he didn't really break out until his fourth year in the league. Knickel doing what he's doing as a rookie. I don't know if I've seen a player like a shooter as a rookie like Knickel, maybe ever. I can't remember the last time I seen a rookie just light the league on fire from a shooting standpoint. But Knickel's been unbelievable. I mean, this dude's averaging 18 points a game. He's shooting 43% from three, 47% from the field. I mean, this dude, man, Knickel, like the Hawks. I'm an Atlanta Hawk fan, and I've been watching this. And the Charlotte Hornets have played my team 4 times. And every game, Knickel's lit my team up, just killing my team, just hitting threes. Every time he shoots the ball, I think it's going in. And more oftentimes than not, it goes in. I mean, this dude, Knickel. Speaking of Knickel, players like Knickel is why teams are tanking right now in the NBA. You're seeing teams like the Utah Jazz and the Washington Wizards and the Sacramento Kings, Brooklyn Nets to a lesser degree. You're seeing these teams tank because you get a young, up-and-coming prospect on your team. It can change your life. It can change your outcome when you have a young, talented player like a Knickel, especially a player on his rookie deal. It just changes everything. And you can just see it when you watch the Charlotte Hornets play. This dude Knickel's giving that team some life, some energy, some mojo, some spunk. Something that we've never seen in the Charlotte Hornets franchise, maybe ever. And so Knickel's getting the job done, man. He's absolutely getting the job done. And the other guys I want to talk about on the Charlotte Hornets team, Brandon Miller, another guy averaging over 20 points a game. Shooting over 42% from the field, 36% from three. Like this dude, another guy, just playing at a high level, being consistent, being reliable, and most importantly, he's also gotten healthier. Earlier in the year, he was injured, and he also missed a lot of time last season. And he's healthy, and he's back in the lineup, and he's been playing ball. And it's not a coincidence to see that as he's gotten healthy, along with LaMelo Ball, who I'm also going to get into in a moment, as you've seen LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller get healthy, you're seeing this team take off, right before your eyes. You're seeing this team just roll, and play with more confidence. And each and every game you watch the Charlotte Hornets play, they believe they're going to win. You believe they're going to win each and every night they're out there on the court. And so, you got a guy like Brandon Miller spacing the court, but being a scoring threat, hitting, being a 3-level scorer, getting to the basket, getting to his mid-range game. And we all know he can shoot threes off the dribble and off the catch and off pin downs and screens of that nature. And so he's been playing at a high level, and, coming out of Alabama as the second pick in the draft in 2023. And so this is a dude, man, that's playing at a high level right now in LaMelo Ball. And look, LaMelo Ball's been in a rumor mill, for the last year and a half. People have been wondering, like, are the Charlotte Hornets going to move LaMelo Ball? The Hawks moved on from Trae Young. The Memphis Grizzlies have tried to move on from John Morant at the trade deadline. They couldn't pull it off, but they tried. And some have wondered, like, is LaMelo Ball the next to be on the trade block? But you look at how the Charlotte Hornets have been winning all these games with him in the lineup, and you got to give LaMelo Ball credit, man. This is a guy that's been criticized for being a losing player, not impacting winning. So far, this season, especially over this stretch of games, LaMelo Ball's impacting winning. You look at his advanced numbers, when LaMelo Ball's on the basketball court, the Charlotte Hornets are outscoring their opponents by 10 points per 100 possessions with LaMelo on the court. The Hornets are 10 points better with LaMelo on the court than they are without him. LaMelo Ball's he's leading the charge. He's been that orchestrator point guard, getting this team involved, pushing the pace, making big shots, competing on defense a little bit. And Charles Lee, I got to give head coach Charles Lee some credit. He's holding this man accountable. Sometimes he's benching his man when he needs to. Holding your star player accountable, and LaMelo Ball's responding to that. And I got to give the man credit. I got to give Charles Lee some credit for coaching this team up. And I got to give LaMelo Ball some credit for responding and playing at a high level for the Charlotte Hornets. It's been some up and down times with LaMelo Ball. He has also one of these players has not been reliably healthy. He's always having these injuries, especially with his ankles. He's injured, not always available, missing games, missing time. That's kind of been a thing with LaMelo Ball. You look at his last 3 seasons prior to this season. It's 3 straight seasons LaMelo Ball's played 50 or less games. And so that's kind of been his MO, just injury prone and unreliable. But that's starting to change a little bit this season. He's out there on the court now. He's had some injuries early in the year, no question. But he's out. He's available. He's on the court. He's playing. He's producing. And most importantly, the Charlotte Hornets are winning games with LaMelo Ball out there on the court. And he deserves credit for that. And so I want to give a shout out to LaMelo Ball as well. I already mentioned Con Knupp. I already mentioned Brandon Miller. But there's also some key contributors on the Charlotte Hornets team that I'm not going to forget. And the other guy I'm not going to forget about on this team, Masou Diabate, the center. And I don't know if y'all caught this the other night with Masou Diabate and Miles Bridges. They got into that scuffle against the Detroit Pistons with Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart, pushing them around, getting into some shuffles and, dudes just pushing each other, grabbing each other's shirts and all this stuff, fighting. It was crazy. Again, the other night against the Detroit Pistons with the Charlotte Hornets. You saw Masu Diabate getting Jalen Duran's grill, getting in his face, saying, "What's up, man? You know who you messing with, buddy? You ain't know what you messing with. You better stop messing with me." That's what Masu Diabate was doing against the Detroit Pistons. And look, man, and Masu Diabate, like, he's been doing his thing. Like, he's grabbing rebounds, he's blocking shots. He's one of the best offensive rebounding bigs in the league. So he's crashing the glass, and he's becoming a force defensively for the Charlotte Hornets. And unfortunately, because of that little scuffle against the Pistons, Masu Diabate and Miles Bridges are both suspended for 4 games. And so that's going to be difficult for the Charlotte Hornets. But hey, man, the one thing I will say about this Hornet team is seeing scuffles like that is just reminding you that things are starting to change with the Charlotte Hornets. There's a different level of attitude and toughness and physicality and belief in the Charlotte Hornets. And you're seeing it out there on the court. You saw it against the Detroit Pistons the other night. The Pistons that hold the best record in the Eastern Conference. And the Charlotte Hornets weren't backing down from them dudes. They weren't afraid of them. They were getting at it. And that's the attitude that Charles Lee has installed with the Charlotte Hornets. These dudes are fearless. They're not afraid of nobody. And they believe that they can win. And they've beaten most of the top teams in the league over this month. Like I said, they've beaten the Lakers. They've beaten the Denver Nuggets. They've beaten the Oklahoma City Thunder. They've beaten the San Antonio Spurs. They've beaten the Houston Rockets. They've beaten all of the top teams in the Western Conference. And if you can beat them teams, then your confidence beating anybody is sky high. And that's what we're seeing with the Charlotte Hornets. And by the way, in many of those games that the Charlotte Hornets beat those top teams in the West, some of those games were blowouts, flat out beatdowns. And so the Charlotte Hornets, man, if y'all ain't paying attention to them, y'all better pay attention. Y'all better start paying attention to this team, man, because they are coming at y'all. They're trying to make a statement to the NBA that we coming. And you look at the Eastern Conference standings right now, and look, they're in 9th place. They're just a half game ahead of the Hawks. But when you look at how well this team is playing right now, they're gonna keep climbing. They're gonna keep climbing and climbing and climbing up these standings. Make no mistake about it. And I'm here to tell y'all, if you're the Detroit Pistons, if you're the New York Knicks, if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, or the Boston Celtics, you don't want to see this. If the Charlotte Hornets end up in the playoffs and they get one of those top 8 seeds in the Western in the Eastern Conference, I don't think there's any team in the Eastern Conference that want to see these dudes in the playoff series. I'm telling you, if you're the Pistons, if you're the Knicks, if you're the Cavs, if you're the Celtics, do you want to see the Charlotte Hornets in a playoff series the way that these dudes have been looking over the past month? I wouldn't. I would not want to see this team at all. With the confidence that this team has, and also the shooting and the scoring that this team has. This team has 4 dudes on their roster that can give you 20 a game. LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Con Knipple, and Miles Bridges, who are another player that I didn't mention. Miles Bridges has been playing some good ball, averaging 20 a game. Versatile forward-man who can shoot the ball, can attack slower bigs off the dribble, can score against smaller defenders. He's a matchup nightmare. And so you got 4 dudes who can score. And with Con Knipple, Brandon Miller, and LaMelo Ball, all 3 of those dudes are elite shooters. All guys that are shooting, between 36 and 43% from 3. And so you got some shooting on this team. Some legit scoring threats. And so you combine the scoring that this team has, along with the physicality and toughness that this team has right now. Grant Williams off the bench, who was giving them some veteran leadership. I mean, I'm just saying, man. You got Ryan Kalkbrenner, the backup center, who's been pretty solid. This Charlotte Hornets team is no joke, and it's all led by Charles Lee, the head coach, who's doing this thing to coach this team up. And this team's well prepared. They play unselfishly. They can shoot the ball. They can rebound. And they're getting better defensively as well. This team is well connected on both sides of the court. And it's showing. And I expect for it to continue. And so, just to let you, just to tell y'all, man, these Charlotte Hornets right now are the hottest team in the National Basketball Association. They're flying high. And I'm here to tell y'all, the Charlotte Hornets absolutely deserve your attention. And I'm hoping that y'all can give it to them because they've earned it and they're coming. And they're here to make a statement.